being average or being
Chắc chắn là phát huy được sở trường của mình trong một cái gọi là
being average. Xin chào tất cả mọi người và chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại với podcast Sapiverse. And now let's switch to English. Hello everyone and welcome back to Sapiverse. And today's topic we're going to talk about parents, teachers, and school who truly shapes a child's character. And we are very honored to welcome Mr. Jon Keselica. And thank you, Jon, for coming today. Can you please introduce a little bit about yourself to our audience?
Of course, thanks so much for having me. My name is Jon Keselica. I come from the great state of New Jersey in the United States, and have been working here as an educator in Hanoi for the last 5 years. I work a lot with students who are engendering to study in the US and study abroad in general. We work a lot towards SAT prep, towards AP prep, and especially in shaping their applications and finding a college of best fit. I graduated from Northwestern University, just like our host is aspiring to do, and studied in speech and in media production while there. My background professionally before becoming an educator lies in that coordination and production in commercials, in live sports. I've been in Hanoi and fallen in love with the student base here who have great ambitions, and helping them kind of shape their dreams is a part of just my everyday life here.
Well, thank you so much for your introduction. And so for today's episode, we invite us into a question that feels deeply personal, yet highly systematic. A question that parents, teachers, and students are wrestle with every day. Who truly shapes a child's character? So Jon, based on your personal experience, what do you think has the most influence on a children's perspective?
On a children's perspective, it's a good question. I think we are shaped a lot by the people we engage with, the people around us. That idea of just, being nurtured as opposed to having embedded characteristics. We mirror behaviors of our parents, we mirror behaviors of our friends, and whether they're good, whether they're bad. I think the people we surround ourselves with, the activities we engage in are really what help to shape a child's character.
Yeah, I see. And also a lot of children nowadays are having a lot of peer pressure, also pressure from their parents and also pressure from their teachers. How do you advise those children to overcome those pressure?
Overcoming peer pressure and pressure from parents, pressure from school. They all have different expectations, right? They're all pulling us in different directions at times. It's important for a student to try to, reclaim some identity and be able to know what he or she truly values and wants to do, and be able to advocate for him or herself in those motions. If you don't trust that, being pulled in one direction is correctly a good fit for you, feel strong enough to be able to stand up and say what it is that you want, what you need. At the same time, I think I would encourage them to, keep an open mind and have some trust in those elders, in family members, in teachers, people who have years of lived experience and are trying to provide that as assistance. Friends, maybe not so much, as we are kind of all on the same level and figuring this out at the same time, but, we all look for good role models in our lives, and the goal is not to, mirror their behavior and their actions exactly, but to have their values kind of color the decisions we make.
Yeah. So based on your personal experience, do you think that the way that you are right now are mainly because of the way your family raised you, or the way school shapes you, or your peers, or you just have this very strong identity?
Wow, good question. I think the identity of trying to be a guide for people is something that I've always kind of had, and it's shown in different ways, but the way that it's directed has been really shaped by my teachers, by my school, and really by my friends. At the end, I use this simple idea of when I was growing up, I was always the person who knew how to get places. We didn't have really Google Maps or just like what we would have MapQuest before, the GPS systems. So driving around New Jersey with friends, they were always happy to have me because I knew what roads to take, knew ways to go, and I see that like play out in my own traits today. Like I like being able to guide students, to be a natural guide. I still love giving directions, trust me. And when I land in a new city, in a new environment, one of the first things I do is really kind of familiarize myself with the roads, with the neighborhoods, so that I can be able to provide that aid. It shocks me how many students of mine today, even in Hanoi, I'll ask them about what they'll say. I live in My Ding, or my school's in My Ding. I'm like, what part of My Ding? And they'll say, I don't really know. and I'm like, well, how do you get there? So I think those qualities that we have, there are qualities we have that are ingrained in us, that come naturally, and it's the people around us, whether it's teachers, whether it's family, whether it's friends, that help shape the direction that those are used, where we apply them, and that we apply them well.
Yeah, I mean, as a student myself, it's amazing to have like a navigator like you, where people can guide us through different things in life that we have not yet to know or like not yet to experience. So looking back in your journey, what was like a key characteristic growth that you think that you would have been much more benefited if you have known earlier?
If I'd known earlier?
Yeah.
If I had known earlier, would be more of that ability to not be so hung up on long-term goals. Long-term goals are great. We're coming up on the new year right now, and this is a time when we all set resolutions. We set things that we want to accomplish in a year. We set things that maybe are pretty big picture. What I found over time was inevitably, when I failed on those, or when I fell short, I was setting myself up for resentment, and even like resenting myself a bit for looking at like, how could you have not accomplished this? Along the way, I've found the ability to kind of make those resolutions more of a day. Like a resolution is good if I can fulfill it that day. And that I have the time to be able to reflect on it and take inventory of the things that I did in that, or if I did fall short of it, be able to act upon it immediately. I think when we're younger, when we're in high school, we do have big ambition, and that's absolutely of value. And I'm not saying to like steer away from that, but at the same time, like try to also set those smaller goals. Try to set the things that you can tackle today, and make sure that you enjoy accomplishing that. That adds so much more fulfillment to my life, is when I'm living with what I am doing and enjoying that, rather than resenting the things I have not done. Yeah. And I think we see that in a lot of students, right? When we're like, I need to prepare to get into the accelerated 7th grade math class. Because if I don't get into that, then I'm not going to get into the accelerated 8th grade math class. And if I'm not in accelerated 8th grade math, then high school I might as well throw away. And you're like, whoa, hold on. Yeah. You're like looking so far down the road, as opposed to the process of growth and the process of learning that you can sit here and enjoy.
Yeah. A phrase that I really, really love, and I say this in mainly like all of my podcasts almost, it's like see situation with a silver lining, where it's like sometimes failure doesn't mean that you're actually failing. Failure is a part of success, and it's a crucial part as a human being to learn while like chasing success or chasing long-term goals. So I'm wondering, a lot of people have their own definition for success, and what would be yours?
Definition of success is really defined by the idea that accepting that growth is not necessarily linear, and it took me a while to figure that out. And I think it's something that we see as in the topic we're talking about of parents and schools and whatnot. Parents who come to me with their students for SAT prep or for AP prep are expecting like a straight linear growth, that you are going to your score will on test 1 will be will be so high, but test 2 will be higher than that, test 3 will be equally higher than test 2, and so on. Growth is almost never linear, though. Growth is filled with plateaus, filled with setbacks, and all of that. What I am able to look at is at any point of that growth, that I can appreciate that where I am now is beyond where I started, right? And that's ultimately, gives me joy and gives me trust in the process and gives me trust in what I'm doing, belief that I can achieve.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes being a better version of yourself in tomorrow, it's already a winning part in your journey of like a milestone on like being the better version of yourself from yesterday. So for example, if parents have a lot of pressure on their students, on their children, and then having these expectations that children cannot fulfill, what do you think would be a negative impact on the student growth and also the student's performance?
So one, it causes a lot of fear. I think that's really ultimately what results. If a student fears that I fall short in an expectation that my parent has for me, and that has repercussions of them shaming me, them scolding me, them kind of just drilling down that I need to work harder, he or she might not feel the openness to trying something new, might not feel the openness to trying to challenge him or herself, because, well, if I set a new goal for myself, then that's going to carry with it another set of expectations from my parents, and I don't want to bear the brunt of that letdown again. It ends up crippling, our creativity. It ends up crippling our drive to like be curious about things and to really spread out and engage. I think that's one thing that type of expectation parenting and the disappointment in meeting expectations can really pile on a child.
Yeah. And also, a lot of students nowadays tend to cheat in school because they say that education system prioritizing grade, not prioritizing the learning process. So what advice would you give teachers and also people like educators like you would like help to motivate the children and not just focus mainly on like an A or a B grade?
Yeah, you touch on a really interesting point about the almost like failure of the regular grading system or GPA system. A lot of, there's actually an essay topic I was working with a student the other day on of how to restructure the GPA. We think about what it captures, which is really just metrics in, performance. Teachers have the ability and have that great insight, that great opportunity to see the work a student is doing, to see the way a student is improving and is actually handling and processing knowledge in new ways each day. That information doesn't get captured in a grade, unfortunately. A way a teacher can kind of manage that and make sure to provide positive feedback to a student, to show that is seen, and to encourage that despite what a C-level grade is, that this has been like heavy, the student has been participating in positive ways, the student has been contributing, the student has been actually kind of changing him or herself along the way, and to not discourage them from continuing down that path.
Yeah, I actually have like a little phrase for you because we are both learned in Northwestern.
Yeah.
So people like to call Northwestern student Nerdwestern.
Nerdwestern.
And then,
Nerd school.
Yeah. And people like to say that we are just super high achievers and only focuses on grade.
Yeah.
And since you already graduated from Northwestern, what would be your tips on like overcoming this fear of like getting a bad grades at school?
Well, you confronted it firsthand when studying at Medill and being handed Fs on a daily basis, I'm sure, right? Yeah. I think, being able to confront failure, being able to confront those letdowns and process them, work through them, and not hide away from opportunities to fail is really important. Northwestern definitely challenges students in that way. It's not going to inflate their marks. In Medill, in a journalism school, we are demanding exact precision. We demand, like every grammatical error is correct. We demand that every source has been correctly cited. And if there's even one mistake, one comma out of place, one capitalization error, it's not 5 points off. It is, as you said, an F on a paper. That's humbling. It's humbling, but if a student can deal with that not as just something to wallow in, something to feel bad for him or herself about, but as an opportunity to correct and be more precise, to be more meticulous in work, and to actually kind of be present with it, I think that's of value.
Yeah, I mean, as like students who are high achievers, it's sometimes hard to acknowledge that like, oh no, we might not be as good as what we thought we were. But then I think it's fine as a process to know that life is not perfect, and it's fine to be not perfect because we are human at the end of the day. So what would you say on your personal experience? Like, what tips and advice could you give for students that are watching right now to reflect on themselves and also to have this intrinsic motivation?
So university is a great place for this, and a school like Northwestern or Nerdwestern is a great place to see this too. Now, I transferred in, and it was jarring to be all of a sudden in a school where all of my classmates were, had resumes that read the same. They graduated first, second, third, usually the least would be third in their class, and had some list of extracurriculars, activities that they had done so far, some secret talents. Northwestern actually used to have a slogan that was A-N-D, is in our DNA.
Oh, yeah.
And what they meant by that was that, the students you meet at Northwestern are not just a physics major, but he's a physics major and a singer, and a biochem engineer, and a aspiring filmmaker. The idea that we need to be all kinds of different things. They actually ended up having to scrap that because students it said they put too much pressure on what they were supposed to do. But when we live in an academic world or in a university setting, I think there is that tendency towards comparison, and it's inevitable. The schooling system here in Vietnam. I walk into a school hall like here, and I see, the actual ranking of students posted out front. That's hard to confront every day, to be like, well, my name is on the second page over here and not over there. That a student can, feel comfortable that in knowing, even if he's not sitting at a top ranking, that he is performing at his best, that he is challenging himself every day. And that they are really, really exploring the things they're enjoying and finding ways to engage in a way that contributes meaningfully. I think that relieves some of that pressure.
Well, I agree. It's it's a bit difficult to be amongst with everyone that are very highly competitive, but then at the end of the day, it's your life. You're the leader of your life, so make it as well to only put the necessary pressure on yourself and not others. So also, moving aside from school, moving more on parents, co-parenting. So a lot of students have disagreements with their parents, for example, and then it comes making them have some mental issue, or for example, some students face avoidant attachment where they have trust issue with talking with their parents or sharing their own thoughts. So what would your advice on parents who are listening right now to have a better parenting skill?
My advice would be just that your expectations of pathways to learning, of what a school experience needs to look like, are probably very different from what the actual education world looks like right now. Just because we have done one thing for so long doesn't mean that we necessarily need to continue down that path. In fact, like, a lot of what children do and like to do or excel in early on is created only because that was the limitation. They only had so many choices. When they're introduced with new options, we shouldn't, withhold those from them. We shouldn't discourage them from pursuing this. In my experience, it's something as simple, not even academically, but I played basketball growing up. I played soccer, football growing up. And as I got into grade 9, I had played on our school's basketball team, and I was, looking to move on from it and give it up. I didn't really want to do it anymore. And my father would say, like, well, why are you moving away from this? This is something you do. This is something you like to do and you have done for a long time. You need to keep doing it. But, it was in grade 9 that they opened up a theater program in our school, and I was interested in joining up with that and in doing some more creative activities in that role. The fact is that when those new opportunities open, if there is a genuine interest on your child's part, you need to be accepting of that, okay, maybe there's a pathway here and maybe he has a reason for that, and don't dissuade from that passion. I hear students of mine sometimes say, when I ask, well, why do you want to study physics in college? And one student said to me, he said, well, because I'm studying physics now, so that's what I have to do. Yeah. And that's just not the case, right? I think we can stress so much that just because what you're doing now is one thing, doesn't mean that that has to be what you're doing for the rest of your life, whether it's in school, whether it's creatively, whether it's athletics. You are still so developing and have the world in front of you, and you need to take advantage and explore those opportunities. And parents need to be, embracing and encouraging of those, and not thinking that just because a child likes math when he's 10 years old doesn't mean he's going to be a mathematician. And we don't need to set the expectation of, so you need to keep being in love with math the rest of your life and the rest of your schooling.
Yeah, I also agree with that, because right now my major is also not gonna really define what I'm gonna do in the future. Mm-hmm. If one day I think that I'm gonna be better at this, it's totally fine for me to change, right? Yeah. In the long run. So also speaking with our audience right now, if the path that you're choosing right now doesn't feel right in like 10 or 15 years, it doesn't mean that your life is all over, but you can restart again and also find again your passion. And also coming back to our main topic today, mm-hmm. about school, parents, or teachers, who truly shapes the children perspective, or like the children themselves. In your opinion, what are the core elements of the roles that teachers should play, what parents should play, and also what schools should play in shaping a wonderful children?
So we know so much about the idea that we as children, like, model ourselves after what we see, and so parents, play a huge role in that, in modeling what we are excited about, what we how we spend our free time, where we devote ourselves to community, to family, even to learning. So that's a great role that a parent can play in this, and to support, like, when you see your children modeling those same good behaviors, when they're carrying them out, not discouraging them, even if it's in an interesting direction. Teachers play that role, obviously, of facilitating learning, of finding ways to really reach students at their level. Teachers have this magnificent skill of being able to identify when a student isn't really getting it, and what type of delivery system would be useful for reaching that student. So teachers play a great role in shaping message and shaping learning for students. And as I said, teachers also have that new responsibility, I would say, to help kind of supplement the grades that we see, whether it's in explaining with parents if there's crosstalk there, to help facilitate a better understanding of what the student has accomplished, and also to kind of soften the blow if there is a feeling of disappointment for a student, to show that faith and belief. There's a responsibility of the teachers to be very aware, to notice what's going on with students, and so it's such a heavy job to have to educate, but also notice and encourage along that. And then from the school itself, I mean, the more types of opportunities we can provide in a school, the better. We're sitting in a high school here, and I'm amazed just walking down the hall. We're in a beautifully designed TV studio and art space right now. Across the hall, I saw about 12 different keyboards set up in a row for students to practice on. The fact that we don't limit the opportunities of learning, the curriculum to one strict methodology or one strict list of classes, and we offer those electives. We make sure we're not just teaching to a test result, and we're teaching to actual understanding and application of knowledge. That's how a school can really help.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for all your insightful thoughts. And before we end this episode, do you have any final thing that you want to share with the audience today?
A final share is just to, everybody plays a role in educating our children. The children themselves obviously have a lot of agency in learning. I tell students all the time, you have to take responsibility for your own learning at times. You need to be able to hold yourself accountable, be able to identify when it's time to slow down, when you need to reach out for help. And then it's important for parents to be mindful of the idea that that's not a linear process still. And to be mindful of the fact that students' interests change over time. We change as people. You mentioned changing of majors. Students change majors multiple times in school. Universities are open to that. Schools are open to that. That's why electives exist. That's why internship opportunities exist, for us to find, all of a sudden that something might not really be a good fit. So parents need to be understanding in that realm, and also still encouraging that as long as we are seeing a child do something that feels meaningful to him or her, and that has a way of really contributing, then that's something we should feel good about. And then for teachers, God bless you. Keep doing the hard work. Keep being there for students, to help them really fall in love with learning, to take the fear out of the idea of asking for help, to encourage that curiosity that really drives new questions and drives new interests for students every day. I think that is so crucial.
Well, thank you so much for participating again. And today's discussion reminds us that no single person shapes a child alone. Character is built through alignment, not pressure, and through trust, not control. And thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Sapiverse, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.